All right, welcome. This is the...
We'll count down, then start. Give him
5, 4, 3, 2, kitty! Get his little kitty. All right, this is the tentatively named comic podcast with cats. It's called that because there are cats in the room. My name is William. Sitting to my right is Nathaniel, who will be my main reviewer in this. Sitting on our left is the tech guy, who is our beautiful assistant and sound editor for the moment.
Yes, beautiful assistant is in the eye of the beholder. Hey, there's only one of us that actually deserves a finger. I'm the one that said it.
And if we end up if you end up hearing anyone else, that will be Nathaniel's roommate, who is, thankfully letting us record this at the late hour of 11:21 p.m. So you know what? Let's stop pussyfooting around. Let's jump right into it. Pick a comic, any comic.
Doody-doody-doo. We'll start with this guy.
You're starting with Iron Man 2.0 Fear Itself, which is issue 6. Alright. Before anyone asks, I'm not covering everything that came out in the world of Marvel, plus a little extra this week, as always, because there are monetary constraints. We will be doing a special edition of holy crap, a lot of comics, once I can afford to order them from Amazon, which will show up probably in about a month. I'm probably going to cut out about at least 6 comics a week. So yeah, we're going to be doing like 30 comic book reviews, so get ready for our super-sized man thing. I mean, podcast.
Keep your head out of your pants for a few minutes, maybe we can get something done.
Oh, alright, so, you know what? Let's start with you, Nathaniel. Iron Man 2.0, Fear Itself. Second part, what'd you think?
I kind of like when they spend, I guess the whole Chinese myth, heroes in it and villains in it was kind of cool.
Well, that's a throwback to a wonderful run of Iron Fist. Here, sorry, I'm going to borrow your machine for a minute here to do fact checking.
Yeah, that's what they're there for.
All right.
I have another 20 anyway.
Riffed on stuff for a second while I look this up. Talk about some other things while I look this up.
Well, they have the whole. He's still trying to assign the last of the. Is it 8 or 9 hammers? It's 9, isn't it? 8. Yeah. Well, basically what happens is there's one in China, which is I think one of the last unassigned, isn't it?
Pretty much, yeah.
So basically, they've got a handful of the villains and heroes of the Easterverse, I guess one term for it, or
Easter.
Whatever you want to call it. I don't really care.
Just
I make
China.
up words.
Yeah.
I'm going to make up words because it's funnier that way. So Easterverse. We're all running around kind of beating each other up.
I feel like that's racist.
Bite me. They're all a bunch of Chinese guys that don't appear in anything else other than ones when they're in China and the rest of the Eastern world. So, sit, spin, scream. Details are wholly unimportant. Yeah, basically, they've got these guys who... They start out with one of the heroes, they have Mortal Fist, who's sitting there looking all cool, and...
Yeah, Iron Fist always is cool.
It's Immortal Fist, not Iron Fist.
No, it's Iron Fist.
What is Immortal Fist?
He is the immortal Iron Fist.
Oh.
Kind of like the Incredible Hulk, the Amazing Spider-Man, the Invincible Iron Man, the Mighty Thor, etc., so on and so forth.
Yeah, they was there for like 3 titles. I think it's one name. It'd be easier. It's like, look, it's Hulk. No. It's like, whatever. Well, okay, who cares?
You know the reasoning behind that, right?
Because they want to have more names and they want to sound special, and they've probably, because they've had like a billion runs beforehand where they've used this to
No, because Stan Lee thought that just calling him Spider-Man was dull. So he's the Amazing Spider-Man. That's why they're not the Four, they're the Fantastic Four.
Well, no, if it was just the Four, that would be dumb, but, the Fantastic Four makes more sense. It's not one dude's name. It's like a group of folk. When you have a group of folk, having like fancy words like fantastic and amazing and mighty and all that are cool. But when you get down to the fact, I'm Thor. No, I'm not Thor. I'm the mighty Thor. That just sounds like, well, I'm basically, sitting there yoinking myself off, and so I have to make myself so special. So it just seems a little, pretentious, I guess, in some ways. So yeah, I'm gonna get names wrong a lot.
Your face is pretentious in some ways a lot.
Whatever. Sit, spin, screen.
All right, and your machine over here, I just tried using Explorer, that didn't work, and now I just tried opening Firefox, and it immediately closed back down.
You're doing something wrong, I guarantee.
Sorry, podcast audience, I fail at internet.
How do you... Seriously, fine. What did it do?
Oh, shut up.
You're impatient.
Shut up.
Impatient whiner. QQ harder.
Alright. www. Alright, going to marvel.com. Best place for information on anything Marvel. Talk about this a little bit more while I look this up.
Yeah. Let's see. You have the nice little hammer gets clean. You get like I said, you've got the whole Eastern heroes and villains kind of beating each other up to figure out who gets the hammer.
Yes, the 8 immortal weapons as it is.
Yeah. We have like the Monkey King, or at least what you're not supposed to know. This is an incredibly obvious and cheap ripoff of the Monkey King with a different name. But yeah, they've got a few of the others.
Well, he's just the Marvel Universe's version of the Monkey King.
Yeah. And this is the dumb civic ad that I keep getting annoyed at because it's 2 pages and has no purpose in being there.
Alright, I guess I'll talk a little bit about this while we try to work out our technical difficulties. One thing I appreciate about this is ever since this has started, and I will go into a little bit more detail on this when I do my storyline reviews, my written storyline reviews later, is that I felt that their redo of the War Machine suit looked too Iron Man-y. It was it lost essentially its individuality. It just became a gunmetal gray Iron Man suit.
Really boring.
Yeah, no, it's dull as dirt. But the good thing is you see moments where he actually, in it, I guess Tony Stark, pulled some of his, technical wizardry out, because, War Machine over here is literally having his guns pop out nowadays. Like I'm looking at this one page. Nothing. There's nothing on him. There's no sign that there should be anything there ever. I turned the page, and all of a sudden he has a missile launcher on his wrist, and he's firing it at Titania. And it's just like, rock on. Your freaking suit, which looked so lame before, apparently is still, armed to bejesus and back, just as God intended.
Apparently technology just hates you.
Hates me?
Yeah.
Oh, son of a bitch.
Like I said, technology apparently just hates you.
I'm just having a bad day. Spilled drink in my crotch. Stuff gets stolen from me. Don't have a girlfriend. Technology hates me. Can't afford all my comics. I mean, you know what? I don't want to jinx it, but my cat's probably gonna fucking die next.
It's probably not that bad.
Then I'll call him to work and I'll be like, I need bereavement.
And they'll call you nuts because of the cat.
Then I'll bring my dead cat there and say, can I bereave my dead cat?
That's kind of creepy and disgusting. It would smell terrible.
You know what though? They'd give me the bereavement just to get me the hell out of there.
If you got to keep the job, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Our place of business sucks anyway, so.
Yeah, but right now it's money's and
money's is good, yes. Alright, let's see here. Come on. Where is this information I'm searching for? I just need to find the writer. That's it, just the writer. Of course, it's Ed Brubaker, who has been doing Ed Brubaker and Matt Fraction? Is that how?
Which one? Fraction.
Yeah, Matt Fraction. Essentially, if there's anything been going good on, or if there's any good developments in Marvel Comics lately, these guys have been involved in some way or another. They just, beautiful stories. Anyway, they relaunched Immortal Iron Fist after over a decade absence, pretty much, in his own book, 2006. It was wonderful. If you like, kung fu fighting type action mixed with some, ancient, Chinese, Asian mythology mixed with espionage and people getting their ever-living...
It's a comic book. They get their butts kicked. Yes,
it's awesome. Alright, but no. So, in Iron Man 2.0, who essentially Iron Man 2.0. This is the War Machine book. I kind of feel like this might be a marketing decision to not call it War Machine. Instead, they're calling Iron Man 2.0 to draw people in who either might not know about War Machine, might not care about War Machine. It's almost like a bait and switch.
Well, it kind of makes sense with they do enough staging where it actually kind of makes sense as to why it's War Machine and not Iron Man, because, well, Iron Man's got bigger lots of other fish to fry, or another unhappy.
I'm just saying though that this book, I mean, technically,
did they show Iron Man in it?
No.
Okay, I didn't think so. I was thinking,
he was in the first issue as Iron Man, and then you've seen him maybe 4 times since as Tony Stark, but it's...
Well, no, you have the thing where he beats up the gargoyle dude in Paris.
Yeah, but that was Incredible Iron Man. This is Iron Man 2.0. They're two...
Oh yeah, you're right.
Yeah, see? So...
Comic noob, I don't care. Go away.
Yeah, alright, so we really should be talking about this. Alright, so essentially the last of these hammers that are what this event is essentially about has landed in China, and it is being retrieved by the man that it belongs to, and that is the Absorbing Man. Anyone who knows anything about Marvel Comics and knows the Absorbing Man is actually a bad mother. He's not like the Absorbing Man that was in the Ang Lee Hulk movie, who was kind of lame. I mean, especially when he decided to become energy like that. It's like, no, become a big rock monster so we can watch the Hulk pound on you. It's like, no, instead we get to watch the Hulk fight a cloud for a little bit until it turns out you can't absorb all that gamma energy.
Fail.
Weak. Yeah, I mean, that's why Abomination, Hulk fighting in, what was that, the Bronx or something?
Something like that.
Because they're, well... Yeah, so someone.
I think they get kicked out by like Punisher, Ghost Rider, somebody like that. So yeah, I think it's somewhere around there, Bronx Hell's Kitchen-ish.
Well, no, I just meant that in the movie. Remember the Incredible Hulk movie?
No,
you don't remember that?
No, I've never watched. I haven't watched any of the Hulk movies.
You don't want to?
No, you should watch Incredible Hulk. It's actually very good.
The last one I heard was decent. The other,
I'll lend it to you, but no.
Okay.
So anyway, back to the.
It was Harlem.
Yes, see, I knew it was something like that because they were in front of the. It was in Harlem. I figured it was something like that. I'm a Texas boy, so what I know of New York geography, I only know from Marvel Comics. So sometimes that succeeds, other times that fails.
It sounds like a giant boat of fail.
Hey,
big boat of fail.
I probably know a lot more about New York than some other people who live in Texas who don't read comic books.
Yeah, but it doesn't mean any of it's correct, accurate, normal, or useful in any way, shape, or form.
Shut up. I know the best. I know the best way to web sling around Manhattan, and that's all I ever need to know.
That is inane. But anyway, moving on. We won't get into my gripes about Spider-Man.
You know what? You can have your own podcast to do that yourself, to complain about Spider-Man, and then I can promptly delete it. But we were going
we'll
to...
get to that argument later.
Yeah. Let's see here. So, okay. So we have War Machine. He's meeting up with the Immortal Weapons, because there are 7 of them. 1 for each Celestial City. If we're going to go through them quick, we have the Immortal Iron Fist, who is a classic hero from, I think, mid to late 70s in Marvel. Pretty cool guy.
Give or take.
Then we have the next coolest immortal weapon, Fat Cobra.
That's what the tub of goo's name is. He's big, he's blue, he's fat, and he looks like some Asian dude. I didn't really know that.
Hey, he is kind of awesome. He
just doesn't have a chance to show it because he gets like a quarter of a page.
Oh, yeah, they all do. So
don't expect us to be able to know these guys.
Well, this isn't the Immortal Weapons book, which there literally was an Immortal Weapons book. This is the, Iron Man 2.0. This is
the skid mark in the back of the Iron Man 2.0, which doesn't show Iron Man.
Okay, it has Rhodey. That's all you need.
It still technically does not feature the character named on the cover. So
yeah, but like I was saying earlier, bait and switch. All right, so we got 2 of the more weapons out of the way, right?
Yeah.
All right, so I'll cover the others real quick. Actually, I think there's only 6, maybe. But okay, so then we have Dog Brother number 1. No.
Dog Brother number 1, WTF, mate?
Yeah. Bride of 9 Spiders, who's really creepy.
That's the little red chick thing?
No, that's the little emo girl's looking name with the
With the
collar
ridiculously
with the
large
giant
smile and-
spikes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the creepy smile that she smiles.
And the
literally-
creepy Japanese laugh.
Yeah.
Yeah. Gee. Yeah. And then finally we have Tiger's beautiful daughter, who is the aforementioned girl wearing red. She's especially wearing a bunch of red belts.
Or it looks kind of like if any of you've seen Fifth Element, yeah, essentially.
Yeah, that's a good way of doing it. Like what
Mila wears in the...
Mila Jovovich was wearing, at the first scene with her in Fifth Element. Great movie, by the way. But no, so now we have 2 of these Asgardian-powered, hammer-wielding nut jobs, and they're going to have to fight 6 immortal weapons and the War Machine. Unfortunately, that just means the 6 immortal weapons and War Machine are completely outclassed, outgunned in all conceivable ways. Oh wait, I almost forgot one of the immortal weapons. My bad, because he's the scariest of them all. The Prince of Orphans. Guy can turn himself into mist and do all kinds of other creepy stuff. And apparently he's older than Wolverine because, he has kung fu powers.
It's the Easter verse. They get to ignore people that would exist everywhere else. And that's why nobody else cares that they exist.
Hey, I like them. They have chi, damn it.
I didn't say they were cool. I just said they're in a different, basically time zone than anybody else. So
Yeah.
people get confused.
I don't know. I mean, this is a good book and all. Unfortunately, it's not a standalone story. You need to read the previous Iron Man 2.0. You need to be interested in reading the next Iron Man 2.0 because it's part of the Fear Itself event. Some of these could work on their own. This one doesn't.
Yeah. If you read this one on your own, it's like walking in the middle of a room with, 6 things going on at once and not having any idea.
Now we're going to go into the next one, which will be... alright. We have Star Wars Jedi Darkside from Dark Horse Comics, number 2. This one is pretty interesting because it is actually telling a story we've only barely heard about in the Star Wars Jedi Apprentice book.
Well, you also
Which
get a
was
little
a-
bit of it, or backstory to it, by doing KOTOR, Knights of the Old Republic 1.
Yeah, but
Gives you
none of this
Telos.
takes place in this.
Well, no, it gives you background on Telos, because it's actually going on shortly before. The
Knights of the Old Republic came like thousands of years before
Yeah.
this.
No, this is...
No, because that's Qui-Gon Jinn there. He
Oh,
was-
yeah, you're right. So it's,
This is 20 years before Phantom Menace. What you're
You can
talking
tell
about is
it's a Jedi
2,000
movie.
years.
Yeah, you're right, I am. I know I was thinking one, I just didn't remember the name of it. I've read too much Star Wars crud. I've read most of the extended book verse, so I don't sometimes have trouble remembering which ones actually coincide properly.
All good, though.
I thought it was older than that, but never mind, whatever. I don't know the timeline on this because I didn't read the first one.
Well, the first one doesn't really establish a timeline. As I said, this is actually coming from a book series that came out from Scholastic called Star Wars Jedi Apprentice.
Yes.
Hey, I loved that.
Well, okay, it's basically, here's the 8th grade version of all of the major apprentice characters that you sort of half see in the first and second
No,
movie.
actually, because what it was is it's the adventures of Obi-Wan when he was a 13-year-old, and it was the adventures of Obi-Wan Kenobi and his master Qui-Gon Jinn. Qui-Gon Jinn, although I'm sure I'll catch some flack for it because not a lot of people seem to like him, was my favorite Jedi. Still is my favorite Jedi.
It's all in the eye holder. There are some... When you get into the extended verse, you get some more interesting characters. But as far as ones that you see in Primeline movies and in the video games, yeah, I'll give you that. He's one of the better because he has personality.
Oh yeah. Well, and also his different his view of the living force when everyone else is looking into the future and he's focused on the present and what's happening then. It's a refreshing change of pace considering that.
Well, you either have the ones that are... Well, you get when you get into the megaverse of them, you get primarily ones that are either far future or far past. They're sitting there searching the annals of history for some greater meaning, which, yeah, that's all great and nifty, but it makes you really boring to talk to.
Indeed. All right, but no, this story that's being told here in this book is essentially something that we heard about only slightly in the Jedi Apprentice book, dealing with Qui-Gon Jinn's first apprentice, whose name I can't quite pronounce, so we're going to look at it right here.
It has
a
start with an X, isn't it?
Yeah, it starts with an X. There we go. Pronounce that for me.
Xanatos.
Seriously?
Yes. X's are pronounced as Z's when they're first.
I feel kind of stupid for not realizing that, but it's like now I can only think of the bad guy from Gargoyles.
Yeah, I know.
Who was voiced by Jonathan Frakes.
Yeah.
Who was awesome.
Number 1.
High five, come on. Awesome.
Yes, I have large degrees of nerddom in random directions, so I will.
Alright, but no,
things
so,
like that.
yeah, this comic book tells that story from Jedi Apprentice that we never actually heard. It was just like, oh, this dark Jedi that you're fighting right now used to be Qui-Gon Jinn's apprentice. Alright, that was about it. Okay, that's a little bit oversimplifying. They did go more into it than that, but...
Well, it's like a lot of things. They end up, they
They
go into the right details. And then
They,
some
they
places,
give the right details, but it's not in depth. This is actually telling us the story that happened then. So apparently in this book, what's happening is...
He returns home.
Yeah, he returns home, and unfortunately, he's, as a Jedi Padawan, he's, like... It seems like most every Jedi Padawan were ever actually shown. He's struggling with his, emotions, and it's made even worse for him because he's...
The thing is, he's really is a greedy, spoiled little rich kid.
Yeah.
We kind of established that from Jump Street. And then he goes home, and Daddy wants to make every effort beyond any reasonable doubt to spoil him some more.
Which he shouldn't be anyway, because the kid's a Jedi.
Yeah, but Dad doesn't care. Dad just goes, "Ooh, look, it's my kitty. I want to blow more money than God has on him because he's my kid."
Even though he sent him away to be with the Jedi for the hope of him having a better life, and it's just... you know what? It's a good story. I'm not saying it isn't. I'm because it's just like...
Dad can't get past his own contradictions.
No, it's more like, sometimes it feels like Jedi training really just falls short.
Well, yeah, it does, because the problem with Jedi training is it's meant to be an idealized form of, here's the best of what someone can be. Realistically, most people fall about 200 feet short of their best.
Yeah, but the thing is that they actually do... that Jedi, not all apprentices make it to being Padawans. Like over half of them wash out and end up joining like some aggro corps or something. Where they essentially they're raised by the Jedi Temple till they're 13, and then when they turns out they can't cut the mustard, they end up just doing like, they grow up to be farmers or or engineers or window washers or whatever.
Well, it's one of those things where Jedis are supposed to be able to do more than one thing, and the problem is for much as they say, you never really hear anything about any of them washing out. And basically the problem is that all we ever see are the heroes of the hero. You don't ever have the story of Joe Blow apprentice, non-Padawan, because they would be balls boring.
Well, I mean, it'd be interesting if you watched him actually grow up into someone kind of like, a Han Solo type.
Yeah, but that's not statistically probable.
Yeah, because he had that Jedi raising.
Yeah, I mean...
So he's going to be a much more centered type person.
Yeah, I mean, the fact is, if you actually read things about Han Solo's psychopathic childhood, the man had nothing, the most stable thing in there was the spaceship flying around underneath him, because he did lots of jobs, he did lots of things, and never had a particularly stable life. So that, most characters that are interesting, and yes, I do not think Luke was interesting because he stuck with his parents, he had no personality, he was a whiny little... Anyway, I'm not going to finish that sentence until he finally grows a set.
You said you wanted to be hated on that last podcast, which may or may not ever end up on the internet. I mentioned this here now, so if any of you want to ever hear that, tell our web designers to either find a way to let you download it directly from the website or have some kind of embedded player, because us putting these on YouTube, sometimes they just don't end up working out.
Or we used really cheap equipment, did it on the fly, and it didn't turn out at all well.
No, the sound quality was fine last time. We could have just uploaded it as some kind of MP3.
Okay, anyway, back to the comic book. I'm getting the let's get back on task thing here from our sound man, which is probably not a bad thing because we got a little distracted last time. Mm-hmm. Okay. Yes. Any other points you want to cover on this?
I mean, I love the character. I love Qui-Gon Jinn. I like this time period of Star Wars storytelling. So I give this, I give this an approval. Plus, if I remember correctly, this is only actually going to be a 5-part series.
So it's something Short needs to get into.
Yeah, it's short, and if you like, Star Wars storytelling, it's not bad.
Well, it also has the upshot for those people who are not hugely into comics that don't end. It ends. Hooray! 50 points in the right direction.
At least I think it does. Let's check on that real quick. Let's make sure. Here, hold this. Hang on a second, folks. We're going back to yonder internet.
Well, I think the cover's kind of a... Oh, okay, there is some nifty laser fighting. So I was thinking for a second, I'm like, I don't think there's much nifty laser fighting.
Yeah, I gotta say, there is a lot of exposition in this, which isn't terrible because, sometimes you gotta move the story along. If we did not have Obi-Wan Kenobi in the original trilogy, fuck all would have happened.
Well, I still think fuck all happened in the original. Okay, when you mean the original trilogy, you mean 1, 2, 3. Let's get the terminology correct.
No, the original trilogy, New Hope, followed by...
Qui-Gon kills the freaking... You have Obi-Wan moves things around until he gets...
I'm saying Allen Guinness in the original trilogy that was made back in the late 70s.
Yeah, that would be Obi-Wan, wouldn't it? Because Qui-Gon's dead.
Yes. As I just said, Allen Guinness, Obi-Wan Kenobi, moved the story along. Without him, fuck all would have happened. Because he's the one who told Luke about the Force. He's the one who said they should go to Mos Eisley.
Yeah, I was confused. I thought you said Qui-Gon. You probably didn't, and I had a brain fart, and that's quite probable.
Well, plus I said original trilogy. Let's state this here and now for anyone who's confused. If you ever say original trilogy, you're talking about Star Wars. I don't care what other trilogies came before Star Wars that are even more original. They don't count. Star Wars wins.
When we talk, it's one of those.
Also, our sound guy is showing off something great. I will have to. I want to point you out to anyone else out there who might like Qui-Gon Jinn. There's a website called ultrasabers.com. What they're putting out right now is a very beautiful duplicate. I don't know. Replica. Thank you. Of Qui-Gon Jinn's lightsaber. So if you want to look like a Jedi who was so one with the Force that he came back as a blue ghost before anyone else did, he did that shit. You know what? He's the originator. He's the OG. He did that shit before it was popular.
Yeah, well, I think they kind of cheap shot it when they let Vader come back as a blue ghost. Because come on, what did Vader do?
Well, he's the one.
Anyway, whatever. I think he cute a bit.
That's also something else that disappointed me greatly about Revenge of the Sith when I found it out, was that Liam Neeson would have shown up in that movie as a blue ghost, except he himself, I think the actor himself actually had a broken leg at the time of filming, so he couldn't be in the movie. And that would have just been a great scene. Especially, because he comes back from the netherworld of the Force. Awesome. But no, I'm trying to find out how many books this is. Come on, internet. Don't let me down.
It fails. It probably will.
You know what? I can find porn on you so easy, but I'm looking for actual information. It's like you brickwall me. It's like, come on.
Well, it's what people want to see apparently. So.
Hell yeah. That's why one of the things we'll add to our website eventually on Geekout porn.
I don't think so. I think there's at least one person who would question the necessity or sanity of doing that.
Whom?
I don't know who they are, but I'm sure there is. Because there should be.
Oh, I know me, Petey, and Hans would push for it, so yeah. This book we're reading, Star Wars Jedi, The Dark Side. It's only a 5-part series, sadly.
Well, like I said, in a way, it's kind of better to only have it 5 because there's that whole thing of stories end. So should comics occasionally. So
yes.
That doesn't mean they
being
can't
said,
do
I
like...
would not mind seeing more miniseries with Qui-Gon Jinn or set in that time period. Nothing wrong with the Old Republic timeline. Those are good. I mean, we're getting a whole MMO for it, so I hope it's good.
We'll see. Depends on. There isn't much written on it, so they're actually kind of pulling most of it out of some cavity or another that may or may not be appropriate to mention on the air.
The legacy timeline, where we have Cade Skywalker, is pretty interesting and fun to read.
Well, you have all the once you get into like I don't like the post, the like anything having to do with the Yuzan Vong or any of that.
Oh, this
the Flash Force in that direction.
Yeah, I didn't mind that so much, and it was an interesting thing. But I'm not going to say I disagree with you, but the legacy timeline. I mean, they acknowledge that the Vong are there and everything, but they aren't the. I mean, they're not the centerpiece at all. Essentially, a new empire ended up rising, but it was mostly a benevolent empire because once the New Republic fell apart in the actual storyline of the books, and they had some kind of galactic alliance, and that just wasn't as powerful. They just weren't as well rooted. This and that happened, and we end up having an empire, but they're not bad guys. But then some Sith comes in and goes, "Hey, I'm going to kill your emperor and become the new emperor." And then it's like, "Oh crap! Jedi Purge, great Jedi Purge, numero tres." It's like, can the Jedi stop getting nearly killed off? Because obviously it doesn't stick.
Well, it's one of those things that nobody bothers to look at a history book. It looks like seriously, like every few hundred years, everybody just burns every library that can move. That ever existed or will ever exist. So apparently, nobody likes to learn from history or even care that history exists. Look, hey, comic books, not Batman. Comic books.
Sorry, video game playing. Stupid game. All right, let's choose the next one because
I think we covered that one pretty clearly.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's just say it real quick again for those of us who are like me and have short attention spans. Good book. Great if you like the timeline. Even better if you like Qui-Gon Jinn. And best if you actually read the Star Wars Jedi Apprentice books from Scholastic that came out in the, I'd say, 99, 2000.
Yep.
All right. Next one. I guess I'll choose this one. And we are going to go over Thunderbolts, Fear Itself, which is Thunderbolts number 159, double-sized special. You know what? I have a few mixed feelings about this. I enjoyed it for the most part.
I think the thing with Ghost was a little weak.
I liked that, actually.
Well, that's kind of weak.
Well, I liked it because it develops a character who's pretty... He is two-dimensional by design, because if you... they had a thing called Ghost Story a while back, which was... Moonstone, who's an actual psychiatrist for as crazy as she is, she actually talks to him and he tells her his story for the most part while omitting, names and whatnot. So, because he's very shush. But the thing is, he digitized his brain a while back, which is part of what made him the ghost. He sees everything in black and white, ones and zeros kind of a thing. And, so it was kind of nice to see some growth out of him. This.
Like one of the things was annoying. The thing with Moonstone, whoever the chick that blows sand and makes people weak. I thought that was kind of a really dumb villain trick. But that Marvel has those. Every comic. Let's be fair. Every comic book has those.
Yeah, they do.
And I was just like, what? That's kind of like noobish, and apparently it only lasts for like 30 seconds at a time. So it's like, what? Why is it like? It only lasts 30 seconds at a time. What is the point of even having that kind of a power? And most of these people who have powers have developed them for some reason. Did this person just decide, I'm going to blow sand out of my hand that makes people, WTF?
You say that, but keep in mind, we have characters like the New Mutant Cypher, who, if you remember him, he didn't last very long. He could speak any language, understand any language. But he was on an X-Men team, and he had a power which has a great utility, great purpose, except from the battlefield. This poor Cypher bought it pretty quick.
Yeah.
And that actually, and throughout the X-Men's long and rich history, that's happened a lot. We've had a lot of poor mutants who are kind of like, I hate to even mention it because the series turns so south, but they're kind of like how Sylar was when we see see his backstory in Heroes. They don't have this super amazing power, but that doesn't mean they're not special. It just means that You know,
No, but
they can do something that no one else can do.
The thing is, the only reason I say this is because they're on like the raft or one of the other like mega supervillain things. So I mean, by being there, you're implying that you've done something super nifty, cool, OMG, WTF, ridiculous, cool. But
Yeah, so because the raft, it's not just made for the worst of the worst. I mean, it is, but also it's made for the people that they just plain can't keep in a normal whoop-de-doo general population prison.
But I mean, the thing is, she even says, well, they don't really care about my power. They just basically had me here because, I mean, they basically said your power, because you're locked in a cell, is completely worthless because you have to crawl up in someone's face.
You have to get all up in there, girl. It's still it's also the fact that, you know, she can cause a lot of mischief very quickly.
Yeah.
With that. All right.
Well, she also gets raffle-pwned by like when they meet up with some of the other some of the more ridiculous guy villains, because it's basically they go through this whole fem power cell block thing.
A little backstory to this is right now all this is taking place on supervillain jail, the Raft, which is like Rikers Island for supervillains. I mean, they have this place so laid down. Like, they even have mutated jellyfish, you know, like hyper jellyfish in the water. So if there's any swimmers who try to get away, you're now ridiculously
they also have like uber
poisoned.
sharks too.
Do they have? No,
Yeah, they have like I thought they had like fancy like
No, they
genetically
don't.
engineered tiger sharks or something.
No,
because
they
were
mentioned
all-
Tiger Shark, the villain.
Oh, I thought they said there were tiger sharks in the
No.
whatever. Misread
No, they talked about Tiger Shark, the bad guy.
Okay, I was confused. I misread it, and it also was
All
probably
right, well,
poorly
you don't have to
worded.
admit, Moonstone's little thing there, yeah, okay, that was kind of weak, because it's kind of like, what's the whole point of this? Because she's, you know, leading, you know, because there's these female convicts. You know, let me put it this way, it was so weak, I'm having to look it up real quick, because I was that disinterested.
Yeah.
Alright, so there's a bunch of female convicts, they're trying to get out. They're going to try to use Moonstone to get out. They run into a bunch of dude convicts who want to try to mess them up. Moonstone is able to, you know, regain her powers. And then they say then she kind of saves their butts, and then all these lady convicts say they're going to follow her. And it's like, I guess maybe they'll just follow her out. I mean, my big problem with it is it's ambiguous. It's like, are we supposed to say that, you know, this is for setting up for her to do something later on, or is she just doing her job she's supposed to do as a so good guy in helping find the people who are, you know, they might be the criminals, but they're still they're still victims in the sense that this jail is falling apart around them and they could possibly die as a result.
Well, or is this more some kind of weird like God, brain fart, X-Men Break World kind of esque thing?
No, I think only X-Men Break World was like X-Men Break World.
Well, no, I mean, you have this whole, because depending on how they take it, they have this whole sort of tribe-esque mentality of the way they act from the very beginning. They're all hovering around, you know, the only chick who still has their nifty power, because the rest have been basically gene-nubbed so their powers don't work.
Well, I mean, that's the thing about the Raft. It's set with multiple things. I mean,
so,
we know
at that point
we know that there are gases and drugs and chemicals and whatnot that it can inhibit people's powers. I mean, it doesn't always work on every person because, you know...
Genetics.
Well, genetics, you know, how does your powers work? Is it a physical thing? Is it a mental thing? Is it a muscle thing? Is it a magic thing? Because if it's a magic, well, they're calling in Doc Strange to find out how to keep your ass contained.
But yeah, I mean, well, like they said, at the beginning they have this whole kind of tribe mentality, and the only chick who still has full access to her powers is kind of the leader because she's can be. And then everyone else is following her, and you have this whole kind
it's
of
a very
almost
prison thing.
Well, yeah, but you have this whole thing that built to kind of make it seem like it could be a whole kind of, you know, break world, reform everybody because we're all giant, you know, female pride thing. I'm probably well stepping beyond what's intended on it, and again,
I just thought it was a weak story.
Oh, no, I'm not really arguing that. I'm just that they may be trying for some, you know,
but that was
girl power thing.
So that was essentially what I like. Is I like the odd numbered ones in this. Let's go into that real quick. All right, so we have this book is set up very differently than usual. Instead of being one story, it's a collection of 4 stories, very much in the same vein as the Homefront books that are coming out as a miniseries as part of Fear itself. First one we have, you know, now let's try to do this in order. First one we have is called Underbolts. It has 3 of the new Thunderbolts for their beta team. Well, actually, no, pardon me, 4. Because I always forgot Mr. Hyde. We have Shocker, who is, classic Spidey baddie. Centurious, who unfortunately I'm only vaguely aware of. Boomerang, another Spidey bad guy. And Mr. Hyde. Very similar to the classical, what was it, the Curious Tale of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde? That kind of Mr. Hyde.
Mr. Hyde is Mr. Hyde. There have been very few things that have ever mentioned Mr. Hyde and haven't had it do the whole Jekyll and Hyde bit, because the Jekyll and Hyde bit is kind of cool.
Well, I mean, it's almost like the story, it's almost like the Hulk, in a way. That's kind of where Hulk's original inspiration was from. But then they decide, you know what, this character's working out this way, so why don't we actually just put in a Hyde?
Yeah. Well, I kind of like the way they do Mr. Hyde in this. He's kind of he's this, beefcakey kind of big guy, but he still has...
beefcakey, superhuman strength, he's dressed fancier than I ever did.
Well, I mean, I like the fancy dress, and the entire time he's like, I'm totally could murder you, but I'm just going to talk at you instead, because I'm a cool big British man.
Yeah, I'm going to quote what he says here, because there's a bunch of people who are hurt, they're, calling out for help. He says, shut your caterwauling gobs, walk it off. Bleeding infants. And it's just like, no, man, that's very King's English, don't you think?
Yeah. Well, it's kind of things like that kind of make you snicker, and it's like, okay, that's cute without being scene-breaking, which sometimes when they try to be funny, they scene-break a bit too much, and it gets...
Yeah, and this one, essentially what happens is they set themselves up in a way so that they can try to escape later. I don't want to give too much away, but essentially the framework has been laid. And for the meantime, because they want to wait for the opportunity, and, they get convinced that right now when there's a major jailbreak, it's not the best opportunity, because then people are just going to come down on them harder later. And if they're out there pretending to do good, maybe a great opportunity will show itself. And it's like, oh, hey, we need you guys on another planet. Like, cool. Later. But, yeah, I find this interesting because this last thing that Shocker says here, what's he say? Feels weird, doesn't it? Get used to it, boys. We're heroes. He's being sarcastic and kind of ironic, but I mean, there's 4 dudes here. There's a chance one of them could go, you know what?
Why not?
I'm getting to break heads. I'm getting my son introduced. One of them might discover, hey, I actually don't mind this whole, good guy thing.
Yeah.
So I like that because it's very open. All right. Then, well,
we've already had a rant on number 2.
Yeah, we've already had a rant about the Moonstone group therapy story. All right, now we're going to go on to Ghost's story, which is titled "The Ghost and Mr. Walker." Mr. Walker is the man who's the warden of the Raft Penitentiary.
Rather, he's not a bad character. I don't know, Ghost, like you said, is intentionally 2D, but I was like, the whole story felt kind of forced in the way it paced itself and stuff, so it didn't seem very naturally told. And
but that's always a problem when you're making something you're making a book that's essentially a collection of shorter stories.
Well, no, I mean, it doesn't have a lot of the other stories, even though I don't like the second one, it had some flow to it, all kind of made sense. There are points that are very disjointed that kind of make it stumbly and kind of awkward.
Okay, I'll admit that, but still, I like that.
Well, you like the character development, which I can understand, but it's not, like I said, it's a little awkward for me.
You probably want to mention that John Walker was like Captain America.
Yeah, John Walker was Captain America. In fact, he's had a few different aliases, but right now he's the warden at this prison because during the siege of Asgard, he lost a leg and an arm. And for some reason, actually the dude who did it to him was a cyborg anyway, so he's refusing to accept, awesome Stark-made cybernetic limbs.
Yeah, but say most people get the fancy Starky bits that are all pretty and fancy, and usually can
repulsor beams.
Yeah, and usually can shoot energy weapons because it's Stark, and if there's there's an excuse to shoot energy weapons, it is because it's like a schlong, and Stark's all about a schlong.
Yeah, it is. Hey, I'm going to quote a different web series here, real quick. What do boys like? Boys like lasers. So that's essentially anything Stark made is with that motto. But interesting story. The guy has a chance here to let some of the scum that is in his prison die, but you know what? He's a good guy. So of course, even though he's the warden, he knows these people are awful and they'd kill him given any kind of chance. He's not just going to let him die because that's not right.
It's the classic hero's decision thing, and
yeah. Okay, and then we're back to the last story, which it's called Double Cross, starring Crossbones.
Who the hell is Crossbone? Why do I care?
See,
Sorry to ask that question.
That is a perfect question for someone who doesn't read these often. It's actually very good. He's a psychopathic assassin, essentially.
Okay.
He's one of our Marvel characters who isn't super special. He's nuts.
Okay. So his superpower is balls crazy. Okay, cool.
Yeah, his superpower is he's ruthless and he's good with weapons. For a little bit there, he had some kind of forehead beam because he breathed in the Inhuman's Terrigen mist. God only knows if that's gone or not.
Well, apparently there's no it actually kind of looks like there's like an eyelid on his forehead sometimes.
No,
that's just really weird musculature.
It was like getting projected out in front of his forehead or in front of his face, really. Like there was no actual aperture for it to come out of. He was just.
So he didn't get to grow a new orifice. Why do people laugh at that word? Like seriously, an orifice is just a hole in your body.
No, it's the way you said it, and it's because the guy's an asshole already anyway.
Well, so
if he's an asshole with another asshole,
True.
But this does something good in that it explains something from last week's book that we read, Youth in Revolt. It explains how he's no longer on the raft. Because remember, he was there. You know what, though? I kind of didn't need the story to know how it was there.
He escaped. Win.
Yeah. Well, no. The raft has been totally messed up when the hammer hit it, and then, Juggernaut picked it up, became a, Asgardian supervillain, and wrecked the joint.
Yeah. With awful pones to the whole place.
Yeah. So it's kind of like I didn't need to know how he escaped. I could have just said that he just got out. But whatever. I'm not going to complain too much.
I think it was just meant to be a cool way to watch some folks get their heads knocked in by a crazy man.
By this neo-Nazi bastard?
Sure. Why not? Everybody loves to hate neo-Nazis. Or any Nazis. I guess it's because it's easy.
Well, you know what? Them and zombies, they're the things that no one will really mind you killing. Even the government of Germany at this time would be like, oh, Nazis? Yeah, sure. Kill them.
Well, the thing about it is Nazis, kind of one of those things that's universally hated. Because the Nazis went, well, we're just going to hate everybody equally except for the people that we consider the chosen race, which we're still going to hate them if they don't believe in us. The thing about it is, Nazism was just basically one big pile of hate. So everybody's just like, sure, we can hate for hate's sake.
Haterade. I'm a fan of the flavor sometimes, but I like water occasionally. Pepsi, milk. I love milk. Milk's awesome. I can't drink the Haterade all the time, man.
There are plenty of people who believe you can survive solely on it. Okay,
like Stinkmeaner from the Boondocks.
That definitely sounds up there. All right, let's see. And we got some more coming here. We'll go with Carnage.
Oh, Carnage. I'm not going to go into everything about this book because I'm going to be doing a write-up of the entire series. And it's going to be real hard for me not to rant about this. We might have to just cut the one for this one short.
I actually, for as much as you kind of, you've got some hating, you got some haterade to drink on that one.
Gulp, gulp, gulp.
But I think it's about the end of the series, isn't it? It's like 4 or 5, or is this actually the end of it?
Yeah. See, 5 of 5.
Okay, didn't. I think it does do a good ending for the whole story. It's not a bad little arc. The ending's kind of a bit of cheese, but it's Carnage, so it's still a big pile of violent cheese. So, the Doctor character's kind of interesting. He QQs because there's another symbiote. Whatever.
Yeah, I'm going to say it right now, I'm no fan of the symbiotes. There's another internet reviewer whom I respect and admire greatly.
Though the upshot is Iron Man really does whip it out and beat the hell out of somebody with it.
You know what? I'm gonna give you that. Okay. Ever since Iron Man came back to himself after the whole, just before the whole Siege of Asgard thing, he's had a brand new suit. Which he had a brand new suit before then. He had what was called the Extremist suit. And what the first version of it was, the actual underlayer of the suit, which would allow him to interface with it, it was kept in the hollows of his bones. You know, nanotech. Get some. It's awesome. And then the actual armor plates, you know, could be carried around in a suitcase like back in the day, and they would they'd be, you know, repulsively magnetically attracted to him. That was fine. It was cool. I mean, the way that arc starts is he says he's been trying to make his suits portable again because as time has gone on, they've got more and more complex. As they've gotten more and more complex, he's been unable to. They've gotten bigger. They couldn't be anything that could fold up anymore. It makes perfect sense. So yeah, this is Extremist 2.0. Essentially, it's also known as.
He whips it out and beats the crap out of somebody with it.
Yeah, the thing about this suit is it's all internal, so he can make modifications to the structure of his suit on the fly. And as Nathaniel has said, twice now, he whips it out and he beats Carnage, with it about the head, neck, and shoulders for like 5 minutes.
Well, he pulls out, what is this, like 7 or 8 of these little cannons or more?
Okay, let's hear it. Each hand has become a cannon. He has a cannon on each shoulder. He has his main unibeam, which right there is all you need. And then I'm going to guess these things on his thighs are also guns.
Actually, they look like rockets, so he can stay in place when he fires all that stuff.
You know what? He would need.
Because, you see, like, skaboosh, basically, or some... What is it? The exact sound?
Kathroom?
Kathroom.
Which sounds like it should be a curse in Elvish.
Yeah, but it's just,
Kathroom.
It's this big boom, and, this is one of the few times where, in all good things, Tony Stark really, kicks somebody in the short hairs. So,
He often does that.
Well, no, it's not as impressively. You don't usually get the whole...
what the thing is? It's nice to see him do that because, like I said, I'm going to try not to go too much into this. We're just trying to view this on its own merits. For being Iron Man in this book, he hasn't been very Iron Man-like.
Well, he's had less of the... He's been very much focused on it. He's been more focused than he normally has. That's probably the best way to say it, because there are times like, some of them he's, hey, look, tail, chase. Other times it's, hey, random something else to chase. Ooh, shiny thing, chase. But this one he really just focuses on pummeling Carnage into the pavement.
Pretty much. I honestly, there's a cool scene in this where Spider-Man rips up a parking meter and starts to beat Carnage with it, which to me is reminiscent of yet one of my other favorite scenes in
But it's also kind of not Spidey-esque, because Spidey's normally the whole, don't really hurt people, great with power,
this is
great
Carnage.
responsibility. Well, true, Carnage
There are certain people that he will pull out the stops against. Osborn pulls out the stops.
True.
Carnage pulls
They're
out
the people,
stops.
but yeah, well, I guess, he is one of those people who's truly proved that they're irredeemable and worthless, so he stops making an effort at some point with those kind of people.
Well, I wish I could remember. I think it's from Spider-Man Tangled Web. There was a time, to me, him beating him with a parking meter reminds me of something that happened in that, which is he was fighting the Green Goblin. They end up going down to street level in this fight, and he gets him, to where the Green Goblin's kind of on the ground. He's a little bit on the ropes, and Spider-Man's saying to himself, I got to hit him with something, to make him stay the hell down. And one of the bystanders, one of the civvies, goes, hit him with the mailbox. And this is at a time back when they had the big blue mailboxes. So Spider-Man rips the thing out of the ground, is holding it by the legs, and just wham right onto Osborn's back, neck area. The funny thing is, hits him so hard, the frame is actually the mask moving a little bit off his face because he's moving, because the mask is staying where it is, but his body is moving because of how hard he's getting hit. Yeah. So I did like that moment, but other than that, this thing is... The climactic battle isn't as climactic as it could be. The end of the story is not satisfying in the least, and the very last page is coming soon, Carnage USA. So, yeah, lame.
Okay, let's see. We've got, what, 2 left, I think?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's do this 1 or 2.
2. Sweet. All right. Secret Avengers, yet another Fear Itself. It's kind of good we've done it this way because we've been breaking up Fear Itself.
Well, we had 3. We had 3 of each. So 3 fears, 3 nons. So.
This is this one's actually pretty good as a standalone.
Yeah,
I mean, honestly, you don't even technically you don't even need to know the backdrop of the Fear Itself event.
No, it's just Avengers wailing up on some bad folk.
Well, really, this book is essentially all we ever wanted to know about. Oh damn it! How do I pronounce your name, Valkyrie?
Brunhilde.
Yeah, thank you.
Brunhilde?
Brunhilde. Yes, she. It's her origin essentially. Her never told before origin,
Which is cool. And they actually have her do the whole Valkyrie bit in it too, which is kind of.
You know what? It's funny because she actually hasn't been allowed to do that in a while. I somewhere along the line, Odin said you can no longer claim the souls of the dead.
And and I kind of like the fact that they have a moment that harkens back to her birth, and then you see her pulling the whole Valkyrie bit, and it's kind of like, hey, for me it's supposed to be the Valkyrie. It's kind of cool to see you actually do your whole bit. Stay true to the myth, which is bonus points in my opinion.
Yeah, and of course
history nerd.
she's a cool character. Yeah.
Well, she's a sword wielder, which is kind of unusual for an Asgard. Most of them tend to be large blunt. Well,
no. They use any kind of weapon that was popular in.
Well, for the most part,
Norse.
your big primary characters though tend to use hammers.
Well, no.
Thor
uses a hammer.
Odin, you don't really see use a weapon too much.
A spear. If Odin uses anything, it's a spear.
You don't see his, what are Thor's 3 little buddies? You don't really see them use much either.
Well, no. The Warriors 3. Let's see here. Vandal. He's the swashbuckling one. He fences. He has a sword. Holgen, the big kind of Mongolian looking one, he uses a mace. And Volstagg uses a big axe.
Yeah, you're right.
I mean, they use large weapons. They're not blunt. I'd say they're large. And there's a kitty. Hey, kitty. You want to be on the podcast too? Come on.
No. Cat's like, no, leave me alone.
Come on. It's podcast time.
Watch out, he'll fart on you.
Yay, kitty farts.
No, his would not agree with him. He has bad gas.
Bad gas in Russian, which makes it even worse. If the Russian says it's bad gas, then just about everyone else in the world, we're talking nuclear fuel.
All right.
So you're saying the cat is your nuclear deterrent?
Yeah.
All right. Back on topic. This tells Valkyrie's story, and essentially what we see it as. We see these 2 random no-name SHIELD agents who are they're enjoying each other's company before the fight. And then they have to go down there, they're fighting each other. They're not fighting each other, they're fighting the bad guys.
Giant Nazi robots.
And then also it cuts back to showing Brunhilde's training before Odin showed up. Because I'm guessing from what I'm reading about this is the long time ago, like I'm guessing imaginably long time ago, Asgard wasn't as united as it is now. Well,
no, they used Asgard in one of the myths initially kept itself at war to practice for the sake of being at war because it's Asgard. And there was a false king who pretended to be Odin and the true Odin, and there were a group that followed each side. And then eventually Odin said, "You know what? This is dumb. This is a waste of all of our time," and conquers the false Odin because, well, he's Odin. He can't do that.
He's the All-Father. That's also all right. So we keep on, and the nice thing is we're skipping back and forth. We're seeing some of what's going on in the present and what happened. What is only described as long ago.
Yeah.
And eventually, what happens is Brunhilde, her beloved Sigmund, he is slain in battle, and Odin shows up, and she's blaming him because in a way it is his fault. And he's like...
Well, she also makes an offhanded statement that she would die to see him go to the fields of, to basically go to heaven.
Well, no, here's the thing. And this is essentially the moment that Odin creates Valhalla. Before this, there isn't Valhalla. But she makes an offhanded comment that she's not going to leave her fallen love. And apparently the cat has just farted. Our sound guy he's got a whip of it.
You see what I mean?
Awesome. But no, she makes a comment that she's not going to leave her fallen love to, just lay there and rot. She believes he deserves the respect of being, properly laid to rest. And, Odin's like, would you do this, would you only do this for him or would you do this for all men? And she goes, everyone deserves that right. And that's essentially when Odin says, bam, you're my Valkyrie. You get to pick dead people up.
Yeah.
You get to get... And, yeah, that's, essentially we learned the story of, how Valhalla came to be and how Valkyrie came to be.
And, it's cool. Like I said, it's kind of it's a nice little kind of, it's one-shotable by itself.
It's a one-off.
Yeah.
They almost don't even need to have Secret Avengers Fear Itself on here. It could just be Valkyrie.
You say Valkyrie, it's still kind of a Fear Itself related, because they are still fighting the giant Nazi Fear Itself robot people. I
know. I mean, that's important, but you could... I'll let the cat meow.
It's annoying.
No, I love it. All right. But in the next issue, we have to look forward to Black Widow, and I have a feeling it's going to be much of the same. But, who knows? But the other issue with Black Widow is we don't need to know any more of her backstory. She has about as much backstory that's been
Well, no, they've
revealed.
actually done her backstory, though.
Yeah, exactly. That's my point.
Yeah.
It's like Wolverine. We know it already.
Yeah.
All right. Now we're going to the final book, which I already know what it is. It is the 5th issue of the Silver Surfer miniseries.
Which is not bad.
No, it's not bad, especially if you're one of the people who enjoys the Marvel Universal storytelling. And there's some people who don't enjoy that. There's some people who, when they read the stuff that takes place and it's not on Earth and it has to do with Skrull and Kree and Brood, and there's barely even one human in sight, that their eyes roll up into their head and they
Dirty
just
racists.
lose interest. I can't completely disagree with that because
Our sound guy's cracking up here.
I
love absolutely honest statement.
I love the cosmic storytelling.
And it's funny, it's the only truthful way to say racist, because technically we're all humans, so we're all the same race, so we're not really racist. We're just complaining about colors. Let's get it right, people.
But yeah, this story is it's the 5th one. So unfortunately, for anyone who's picking this up right now, you're going to be completely lost. I mean, they do their whole thing where they give you a summary of everything that's happened
But that's
on the
not
first
hugely
page.
helpful.
Yeah, I mean it's bare bones, and you lose a lot in it.
Well, because the thing about it is it harkens back to
The last
Silver
4
Surfer.
issues.
No, it also harkens all the way back to the Silver Surfer's very beginnings.
Yeah,
Because the chick that he's kissing on is his original love from way back at the beginning.
yeah, Shalabal. Yeah, from when he was on Zenla and he made an offer to Galactus that, he was like, Galactus, you and your great hunger, there will be a day when you can't find a planet. And on that day, you will perish unless you have someone to scout this out for you. And that's when poor Nornrad stopped being a man and became the Silver Surfer. But in this, what's happened is... I'm going to try not to talk too much about the past on this because...
Well, you have the Herald of... Essentially, you have Galactus' opposite.
Yeah, a character known as the High Evolutionary, who's been used here and there in Marvel Comics for the longest time. He managed to get his hold of Galactus' star sphere, used it to gain himself some cosmic awareness, some cosmic power, and now he's declared himself the world builder.
And Galactus kind of yells at him a little bit, gives him a dirty look, and then leaves him alone.
Yeah. Which, you know what? I mean, come on, that's going to make for good later on. Like I said, cosmic Marvel storytelling. It's always bigger. Because, I mean, okay, something bad happens on Earth. Sometimes the scales can be the whole universe. But when it's cosmic, the scale tends to be the whole universe.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure we'll hit, like, Annihilation, Conquest, and all that later, and...
Oh yeah, we're gonna go over Annihilation, probably written and audio for those who can't read.
Hey, not necessarily that they can't read, it's that they're lazy and or they have more free time that they can listen auditorially than
or they
can.
want to listen to our beautiful voices.
Whatever psychopath thinks my voice is beautiful. Yeah, I don't know what kind of candy they're doing, whether there's no smoke or whatever it may be, but I'm pretty sure there's some help thinking me am beautiful.
But I mean, I'm not even sure where to go with this. It's good.
It's not, like I said, it's kind of interesting. It seems like an introduction for things yet to come.
You know what? I would say that too, because essentially,
you have some. The thing about it is it's kind of weird because it seems like timeline very out of it because you've got the Thing and some of the Fantastic Four folk.
Yeah, the Fear itself stuff hasn't happened yet, obviously.
Yeah.
This takes place directly after the Chaos War. That is set up in the beginning. That is why when Galactus shows up in this, he's coming out of our sun because he needed to feed, and the power, and Silver Surfer both wanted to spare Earth, and also the power of the power of a planet wasn't enough for all the energy Galactus expended during that crossover event. So he does, he throws Galactus into the sun. Essentially what they say in here is that our planet will now die 1 billion years earlier. Our sun will go out 1 billion years earlier because of this. Which is pretty impressive, but he's Galactus. He's the devourer of worlds.
I'm sure that there'll be some nifty universal weasel cheat that will let us, live forever because
we have Reed Richards. That's all you need.
Like I said, galactic weasel cheat, and Reed Richards does count as a galactic weasel cheat.
I have a kitty on my lap.
Because he violates the laws of space-time and physics and everything else whenever he damn well pleases.
Hey, he's stretchy.
Yeah, but the laws of physics shouldn't be.
That's part of his power. No one realizes it. He can make the laws of physics as stretchy as he is.
Yeah, I'll buy it.
Alright, essentially what has happened in this book, in this issue...
They terraform the moon?
Oh, yeah, but then they quickly undo it.
Yeah, well, that's because it F's up Earth to a point of craziness. And
and also Galactus says that, an imbalance has been made. He needs to eat that imbalance, but that would destroy our planet. So the Silver Surfer takes care of that imbalance the old-fashioned way. Destruction. He unterraforms them.
Yeah, well, I think he's got some help from his lady friend as well.
Yeah, and then she ends up losing the power cosmic, which is kind of a shame because, damn, does she look good.
Well, she does. I thought because you see.
I mean,
well, no, you also see him back as a human at the end of it as well. The two of them.
Well, the thing is, he uses his power up to do this, which turns him into a human. But then he wants to save her from this fate, especially because the guy who made her into he wouldn't be a seeker. Her job would be, her job isn't as a herald because she works for the World Maker. She's more of a seeker. Her job would have been to find dead worlds and then, tell her master so he can begin the terraforming process. Mm-hmm. But he has already left. He's abandoned her to her fate, whatever that may be. So the nicest thing the Surfer can do is he expends all of his power, and then he takes her power. So now she's just a normal human. Well, let me rephrase that. She's as normal as she was when this began, but she has always had superpowers. So
yeah,
the character we're talking about here is Susie Enzo. She's also known as Cybermancer.
Oh yeah.
Classic character from the mid-'80s for Iron Man. She's been showing up here and there since, especially ever since they started the new War Machine stuff during the Secret Invasion. We've been seeing her a lot since then, which I gotta say I like. I always like when they bring back a character who we haven't heard of in a while and make them important and relevant again.
Well, I mean, as long as the character's interesting.
But the real story here is essentially this ends with the Silver Surfer having, once more rediscovered his own humanity. And the thing is, that always happens to the Silver Surfer, but part of that being interesting is all this power, this great power cosmic, eventually strips you of that. And you kind of have to dust it back off, find it again. So now we have, we've been dealing with a very robotic Surfer since the Annihilation when you say kind of...
well, no, okay, yeah, you're right, because during Annihilation he's got that human stretch, and then he has to power up and to really kind of...
It makes him kind of cold again.
Yeah,
and now he's been rehumanized. And it's like, you know what, they've done it before, they'll do it again, and honestly I don't care, because it makes for better storytelling. Sometimes he has to be cold and, you know, powerful, and other times he has to have a human heart. And this is what has been given back to him in this story.
Okay, so that kind of covers...
Yeah, that covers everything for this week. Unfortunately, because of circumstances beyond my control, we are missing out on such wonderful goodies as Deadpool and a new X-Men Legacy. You know,
I'm not a big miss in my opinion, but...
I like X-Men Legacy.
I'm not a huge X-Men fan in general. The only X-Men I ever liked was X-Men the Quantum Leap Edition, or Exiles, for those of you who haven't actually read it. Well, except for the last little bit where it gets a bit funky because the author's a bit weird, but anyway.
Well, I like Legacy because Gambit is one of the lead characters.
Well, that you can also get from X-23.
True. But it's nice to see him interacting with more X-Men.
Well, I mean, X-23 at least, I'll give it some points because it doesn't feel like an X-Men.
Oh God, no. Because X-23 is such a unique character.
Well, it's also the fact that it has a much more noir kind of, darky... It's more like criminal aspect of feeling instead of...
Well, I mean, that was
well,
just
it's also not racist. The entire premise of X-Men is one big pile of racism, and, you know, it's been around for how long?
60s.
You're talking basically 50 years of racism piled in front of you. At some point, you gotta walk away from the big pile of racism and look for something else.
Well, I mean, that's what it is to be a mutant, and that's what you have to face.
I know that, but, you know, like I said, there comes a point... I get tired of the big plate of racist, and I still want mutants because I think they're kind of cool, and they're still quasi-human and all that. And X-23 goes back to the fact where people aren't, you know... Not everyone knows by on-site you're immediately a mutant, OMG, you're evil, blah, blah, blah. That whole...
No, most people don't even... You know, nowadays, people see Gambit, they don't even think it's a mutant. They think it's just to do with freaking colored contacts.
Yeah, so, you know, basically the thing is you've got two of them who are human-looking mutants going around basically trying to... One of them's trying to figure out whether they're, you know, actually human or whether they're just knucking futz. They have this whole exploring humanity thing to them and helping people and solving mysteries.
We can really get more into this once we have an X-23 book to review, which unfortunately, as I was saying, we won't have for a while because right now.
Well, unless somebody else decides to feel like
unless someone gives me some money or gives us some books, please. Maybe anyone out there. But yeah, right now
somebody else with the disposable income might have
right
some,
now
perhaps, maybe.
You too. I'm looking at you guys. Right now, though, and just to remind you, I am going to be going over mini-series and special events. That's all I'm going to be doing because it will cut down on my comic budget until my life goes back to being normal, and then once that's happened, it's on. It's on like Donkey Kong.
All the games you choose Donkey Kong.
Hey.
Anyway, whatever.
It rhymes.
That's your only trick. Okay, good, as long as you admit that's the only excuse, because, yeah, whatever.
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay, cool.
I would have said it's on like Tony Stark on a hot blonde, but then I thought, you know, he wouldn't turn down any hot girl, so it's just like...
And again, my statement would have keep your thoughts out of your pants.
Yeah, see, so there we go. All right. Well, good night, ladies and gents.
Long and short of it, deuces, folk.